So all this stuff with TikTok being banned has really got me down and really just got me thinking about how much I really need to be on social media. Because from one perspective, it seems like a wise decision for someone trying to build a business to stay on social media, and maintain, as much of a momentum as I can to build brand awareness. From a personal perspective, I feel truly sick and tired of feeling like I am under the whim of billionaires, corporate oligarchs, people who don't give a shit about my well-being. Like, I've been pretty much most of my career nose deep in algorithms and updates and, trying to keep up with this ever-evolving culture of social media. And I kind of hate it. And I hate the way it has evolved. I hate what it's turning into. And even though I see that there is so much value in these tools for marketing purposes, for engagement purposes, for connecting people to other people, I think these are such special tools that could be so useful and so valuable to us as a society, and yet they seem to be run, owned, and operated by people who don't give a shit about the greater good. Or if they do care a little bit about the greater good and the well-being of all, they seem to be more concerned about making a profit as like priority number one. So I'm conflicted. I've been reading this book, Interfaith Leadership, a Primer by Eboo Patel. And he talks about, I'm a little more than midway through, he's talking about the 5 civic goods as he outlines them. And number 5 is creating binding narratives for diverse societies. I've been talking a lot about narratives because I just finished recording a virtual course for 12 weeks at the end of 2024. And the whole course is about narratives and how we create these stories for ourselves internally, subconsciously, how we can consciously change them, and how all of that influences the way that we show up in the world, the way that we think about ourselves and our life and our God, if we have a spiritual connection. So that concept of creating narratives and being an important part of the civic good makes a lot of sense to me. And if you're interested in that course, visit my website. Patel writes, in his paper, E Pluribus Unum, Robert Putnam highlights the central role that grand narrative plays in binding together the various identities in a diverse nation. The idea of America as an immigrant nation and the prominent place of E Pluribus Unum, out of many one, on the Great Seal of the United States gives people of various backgrounds a sense of place and belonging in the United States. In Civil Religion in America, the sociologist Robert Bela highlights how religious symbols play an especially powerful role in such narratives. Some of the most enduring images of the United States, like Winthrop's City on a Hill, Lincoln's Almost Chosen People, or Adams' Cathedral of Humanity, or King's Beloved Community, have roots in religious texts and narratives. National symbols like the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance absorb some of these religious qualities. When used properly, this is a piece that I really want y'all to hear. When used properly, these symbols can be utilized in a national narrative that communicates that the diversity within a nation is sacred and thereby ought to be cherished, protected, and positively engaged. This hit me in this time of me questioning the value and the role of social media and simultaneously trying to create a new social media platform specifically for interfaith engagement, this really hit me because he says, if used properly, the symbols that we identify with in religious ways, like symbols like the American flag, symbols like the narrative of America as an immigrant nation or a nation of immigrants, right? Symbols or narratives like the idea of America being the land of the free or a place where diversity is encouraged or celebrated. Those stories, which we uphold and reinforce using symbolism, those narratives can be very powerful. They can be used to shape the way that we interact in our society. And he's saying when used properly, they can be utilized to communicate the national narrative that diversity within the nation is sacred. But at this time, we are seeing a divide. There are people working right now very hard, working to build this narrative that diversity is a sacred and treasured and valued feature of our democracy. And simultaneously, there is a movement of people who are working to promote an exact opposite narrative. That we don't need to talk about diversity. That if we do talk about diversity, we are woke and racist. Religious diversity is just one type of diversity. Obviously, a lot of people talk more about racial diversity when we're talking about diversity and DEI and all that stuff. A lot of times it is about, racial diversity or diversity of sexual orientation or gender identities in some cases, but rarely do we really talk about religious diversity. But religious diversity is like one of the most important foundational features of our nation and of our democracy. And I personally think one of the reasons we have so many problems right now in our society is because we're going on these platforms like Facebook and Instagram and engaging with wide swaths of the population in very intimate ways, in ways that we haven't been able to before. And we're not addressing or talking about religious diversity in a healthy way. We're not even being encouraged to do that. These algorithms on these platforms are designed to encourage people to stay in their silos and stay in their echo chambers and only talk to the people who talk like you and only see the stuff that is in agreement with what you already think or believe. And that is creating more division and more hatred. Meanwhile, we're not allowed to talk about religion at work in a lot of places. That's not a place where people go. When you're in religious communities, a lot of times people are not going to interfaith, events or spaces. I mean, these spaces exist, but is it encouraged? Is it a common practice for people to engage with people from different faith backgrounds with intention? I think it should be. I think we need to take that more seriously. I think we all, as people, as citizens of the United States, if we really value democracy, if we want to protect our democracy, as people keep trying to say, we need to be really, really mindful of the way that we are engaging with people from different religious backgrounds. One of the reasons we're in this position is because a lot of people who are proclaiming Christian values are at odds with people who don't want to associate with any kind of religion, or they do associate with a religion. But I feel like the people who associate with a religion, but also don't share the same values as the super politically right, more traditionalist Christian people, I feel like those people are kind of getting like caught in the middle between these two factions. There's these super extremist Christian nationalist people, and then there's these super atheistic or secular, fuck religion type of people. And I feel like anyone who is both spiritual and inclusive is just kind of caught in between. But there's, again, it's easy for that kind of division to happen on a social media platform or across multiple social media platforms where division is being actively encouraged because it is profitable. We need something new. We need something else. We need a place to go where we are actually being encouraged and showing up with the intention of engaging with one another in a compassionate way, seeking common ground, seeking an opportunity to learn and grow from people regardless of their religious background. And we need to be focused on the religion and the spiritual aspect of things, not just diversity in every other aspect of life, but diversity in our religious and spiritual communities as well. We need to build bridges. We need to build connections with people who we don't normally interact with. And that doesn't mean that you have to go to every religious service, but you do need to meet and talk to people who go to different types of religious services. You do need to maybe shake a hand with or collaborate with someone who prays in a different way or in a different language than you. Or maybe if you do pray, you're collaborating with someone who doesn't pray at all, right? But I just want to see more of that. Let's have more people collaborating on artistic projects. Let's have more people collaborating on civic good projects. I mean, Patel here is talking about the civic good and how interfaith engagement can be a tool to spread more good for the community. You know what I mean? Religious institutions are some of the largest facilitators of public services and what he calls social capital, right? Social capital is generally defined as well-organized networks of people whose energy is directed towards civic ends. Religious communities are the largest source of social capital in the United States. By bridging the social capital between diverse religious communities and channeling it toward a positive civic purpose, interfaith leaders have the opportunity to make a profound impact on social problems ranging from poverty to disease. I couldn't have said it better myself. Read his book. Anyways, I wanted to come on here and talk about this because I feel like this is a critical time. This is a time where people are talking about boycotting all social media, popping off of Meta. In any case, I am distraught. I know others are too. And I feel like I got by the tech bullies in the United States. That's how I feel right now. But I also feel motivated. I feel more motivated than ever to build this app with all of my heart. This is a project that I think we need. We need an intentional space. We need to start, taking the good of social media and using it wisely, using it with intention and throwing the bad away. We don't need scroll traps. We don't need apps that are going to show us things that make us sad and angry and hateful towards each other. We need apps with intentional algorithms to actually serve us, to actually serve the common good. So I hope we can extract some of the good from the social media that have failed us and find a place and find a way to create something better that's actually going to bring more people together to make the world a better place.